Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of the new podcast, Generative AI and I. As a quick introduction, generative AI has been compared to the iPhone moment, one that has disrupted the way we communicate and bringing in historical technology change with the advent of new apps and business models. So, this podcast is intended to help you understand how Gen AI will impact the future of tech from the leaders in the space, what the market landscape will look like, new applications and use cases it will spawn, and the risks and hurdles it will have to tackle. Now, this isn't really a space where there are a lot of experts. Everyone is on a learning journey, and the ones that stay ahead are the ones who are curious. So, in this podcast, we'll talk to builders, doers, and leaders with one goal to help you understand how to stay ahead in this new machine generated, creative new world. So, with that, I'm really honored to have such a seasoned leader join us today. Hello, Sanket. As a quick introduction, Sanket Atal is the managing director for Salesforce India Operations. He's a site lead across technology, marketing, and product. He has 29 plus years of experience in software development across organizations such as Oracle, Informix, CA, MakeMyTrip, and Intuit, and has worked across India and US with geographically distributed teams. He has also led large India operations for US companies with a focus on driving value through strategic development, headcount growth, industry connects, and delivery of key product development. Now, personally, I love the passion that you bring in towards startups, innovation, the customer centricity of tech, and driving mindful leadership. And most importantly, building diverse and inclusive workspaces. And all of that is more relevant today as we accelerate into this new AI driven age. So, with that, welcome again, Sanket. Really, really honored to have you on this
Thank you
podcast
so
today.
much, Anjali. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, with that, without much further ado, getting into the discussion, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. You have such a solid, rich experience in tech, right? Talk to us a bit more about your journey in tech, Sanket, like your roles leading technical teams and as a site leader as well across multiple organizations.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to keep it short. Otherwise, we'll be here till the evening. I started off my journey being a double major in mathematics and computer science. My undergrad was at a university program which focused on the fundamentals of computer science theory. I think that set a really solid foundation for me. And then in grad school, I went on to study databases, which were the in thing at the time. And I mentioned that because my first job was at a company called Informix. And that's where I was working on what's used to be called system programming. Nowadays, system programming has multiple meanings, but fundamentally, the way operating systems were done in those days, oh, sorry, database management systems were done in those days is you had to design operating systems yourself because bunch of the basic features you needed were not quite available natively, and then you develop higher levels up. So I have worked on each and every layer of a database management system, whether it's the operating system layer or the layer just above that where you're manipulating data, or the optimizer, and finally the rendering. And so that, in my opinion, has set a really good foundation for me to be able to take on almost anything. And so I started off being an Informix, working on databases. And then I helped set up Oracle's R&D center in the city of Portland, Oregon, where I was living. And we began working on middleware. None of us really knew what middleware was. We just knew it was not the database. So we wanted to do something more. And that got me into distributed architectures, which were essentially the foundation for all things web and SaaS, etc. So that was an awesome experience. And it was with Oracle that a few years later, I moved to India. I'm Indian, but I did not grow up in India. So for me, the opportunity to move to India, to experience my motherland and to experience the huge phenomenon that was happening here in tech was truly a privilege. So I did that. And then slowly I veered off into management. And after that, as you have already listed, I have had a journey through many companies. But fundamentally, what I told you established the basics of my understanding of technology, which has enabled me to keep on growing and learning as I go along. And, you know, um, when I was, hands dirty techie, the whole concept of getting in management was considered kind of like the evil side. I don't know if you've read Dilbert, but there's the pointy-haired manager not knowing the difference between a database management system and a red or blue color database system. Uh, but what I found is after moving to India, especially, that I could contribute in a much, much bigger way by getting into management and helping the organization grow in India and helping people in India grow and actually start working on state of the art technologies. And so that's been my goal throughout. My I did that at Oracle, and likewise at the other companies I've been in. My goal has been, how do you ensure that the organization in India is considered a true peer of the international organization, contributing to whatever the latest technology is being developed, and having people actually be able to grow through the system to be able to actualize their professional dreams.
That's brilliant. I truly believe that irrespective of where you are in the hierarchy as a leader, having that fundamental strong is so important, right? And that makes me look up to you as the leader. And it's very inspiring to see leaders who have grown through the ranks and who have their technical fundamentals strong. So thanks for sharing that. I also loved your view around how you're setting up India as a site which is where people can grow and work towards their potential, right? And that's very important in the way things are democratizing across the globe as well. Kind of as a segue to that, let's talk about innovation. I've seen you write a lot about it, Sanket. I know it's a topic you're passionate about, both personally as well as at Salesforce. Can you tell us a bit more about innovation and why do you think it's more relevant today with the accelerated AI that you see all around us?
Absolutely. Ranjani, I've been very entrepreneurial from day one. I think it's in my blood. I feel, and I'm a son of a social anthropologist, so a lot of my perspective comes from my discussions with my father. And I feel as a culture, we are very entrepreneurial. You go to any city, and around every corner, there's somebody or the other who set up shop to do something. And the concept of jugaad, for example, which a lot of people consider kind of a negative term, I consider, something very positive. We're able to make things happen as and when necessary in by whatever means. And so for me, that is super important because no matter what you're working on, whether it was the hardcore operating system level stuff or much higher things, you have to be thinking on how can I make things better. Um, I'll share something with you, Ranjini, that kind of signifies, my approach to things. There's a joke you might have heard of when there were three people. There was a lawyer, a businessman, and an engineer who were taken, prisoner in France and were sent to the guillotine. And so at first, the businessman was brought to the guillotine, and the person operating the guillotine pulled the thing, and then the blade did not come down. They're like, oh gosh, by God's mercy, this person has been saved. And the person walked away. And then the second one was, the lawyer. And the lawyer put his head down, and then they tried to pull the thing. And again, the blade got stuck. So he said, oh gosh, God has forgiven him, and he goes away. And then the engineer came and put his head down. Now, just before they were about to pull the string, the engineer got up and said, wait, 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 wait. I think I know what's wrong with this thing. so that's the mind of an engineer, and that's fundamentally what I have. So how do you make things better? How do you try to see how improvement can happen to not just things in tech, but pretty much everyday things in life? That's kind of the approach I have, and a lot of other engineers have. And so I'll relate that to, one of the reasons I joined Salesforce is a very close friend of mine was working here. He was heading this organization called Tableau, which we had bought. And so I asked him, I'm like, Mark, do you think, I'd be happy here? Because he and I had worked together on a lot of innovations. In fact, we have 2 patents together. And he was like, yes, Sanket, you would love it because it's a very innovative company and a very entrepreneurial company. Now, I take everything with a grain of salt, but upon joining Ranjini, I tell you, I truly discovered that this company is phenomenal. It's definitely innovation first, AI first company. And everybody's encouraged. They're like, hey, if you have an idea, go explore it, see what you can do. And what's nice with the company is the way they've structured things is there's a cadence of regular releases that happens. Very unlike things that are non-SaaS. Okay, since it's a SaaS first company, the first big enterprise company to be SaaS, we were the leaders in the whole concept that we have at least 3 releases a year, right? So whatever you come up with today goes out in the market fairly quickly. Of course, after all kinds of scrutiny. So this provides you amazing opportunity to do great things and have an impact throughout the customer base. And such an opportunity is just it's highly desired by any engineer. So super excited to be here at Salesforce and experiencing this. And we'll talk more about it later. But fundamentally, Salesforce, by being an innovative company, we started working with AI uh, probably around 10 years ago. We set up a team in 2014. And since then, we've done amazing things. In fact, we have AI built into all of our products. And we provide predictions, for example. So, this is predictive AI. This is before generative AI. So we provide predictions in whatever product you're in, and on a regular basis, trillions and trillions of predictions are provided to our customers. So it's just it's amazing, and it's truly an honor to be at this particular company.
Mm.
And finally, I'll add one more thing. Sorry, it's a little bit of a long-winded answer, Ranjani, but I'm quite passionate about this. So I was looking at what's making the organization, or actually the ecosystem, really actualize. What are the various things that are enabling amazing things to happen in tech, especially in India? So I came up with 3 things which I call the 3 T's. The first T is technology. So with technology, today, amazing platforms are available, amazing products are available for you to leverage and do great things. If you're running a company, you're able to leverage the products to automate whatever things you're doing, to be able to use state of the art technology to run your company. And with SaaS, in a pay as you go manner, you don't need to do the traditional set up a data center and try to buy all of this on-prem software. So that is a huge enabler, a true democratization of the access of technology. And then the other part that I like to say is, if you're a techie and trying to develop a technology product, so many platforms are available today. And what do they do? Well, these platforms are tried and tested. So they allow you to develop something that is robust, that's been tested by, like, the world over. It also allows you amazing robustness in whatever you deliver. And plus, your time to market is cut short. So on the tech side, amazing enablers today. Next, let's take a look at talent. So on the talent side, gone are the days where people used to be very conservative and wanting to have a job where they'll be there for life. No, people are looking for interesting things to do, and they're being more adventurous. That's why startups are popping up left, right, and center. And the other part with this is, you don't need to find people who are already trained in a particular technology. So many platforms are available for you to get your people trained and up and running within a matter of months on any technology that's coming up. In fact, new technologies come up every day. So this is a fundamental enabler of the talent market, especially in a country like India, where you might not have picked up all the talent within your college. And finally, um, the ability today to be able to sit in any country, anywhere in the world, and target a market anywhere else in the world. That is something that is unprecedented. It's happened over the past 10 years. You have data available of a market, you have tools available to be able to target a particular market, and you have information available to be able to figure out what the needs are for that market, right? So being able to do that makes you kind of like a company for the world, no matter where you're at. So say I'm sitting here in Bangalore and I want to target Thailand, which is where I grew up. So if I want to try to target Thailand, I can target Thailand, or I might say, well, hold on, I want to target actually Bangkok. Not just that, I want to target the Sukhumvit Road in Bangkok because that's where the key market is. You're able to do that, and that is power. So the combination of these 3 T's is enabling the tech ecosystem to do amazing things, which is a great enabler to all kinds of innovation that's happening in the industry today.
I absolutely love the 3T framework, Sanket. Thanks for sharing that. And as you were talking through it, I just realized that all the things we see around us, from tech to talent, and like you said, right, the ability to look at, sit here and target any market, we take it for granted, right? Like I just was thinking about, like, even a decade ago, things were so widely different from where we are today, where I can get things delivered in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So absolutely, we tend to take tech very, very taken for granted per se, but I absolutely love the framework on in terms of innovation. You spoke about AI and the focus Salesforce had on AI over the last decade. Related to that, can you tell us a bit more about the focus on the generative AI space? I've seen announcements and posts around Sales GPT, Service GPT, Einstein GPT. I've personally used Einstein a long while ago, but yeah, it's very interesting to see the entire gamut of platform services which is provided. Love to hear a bit more about the Gen AI space within Salesforce.
Absolutely, Ranjani. Excellent question. So, as I mentioned, we have been in the AI space for quite some time. It's nothing new to us. In fact, we set up a team then, the research team. It's headed by a ex-professor from Stanford. So we are quite advanced in our AI journey. Now, as I mentioned earlier, till recently, it was mostly predictive AI, and which was the need of the hour. And for us, what is really important is not just using technology for the sake of technology or creating features for the sake of creating features. It has to have, some kind of an impact on our customer. Okay. So when Gen AI came along, it was nothing new to us. We have been working on Gen AI as well, and then it became the big thing that's in vogue. And For us, the thing was, how can we best leverage it to help our customers? Okay, that's been the major focus. So, and the whole concept of Einstein, by the way, is basically Einstein is our synonym for AI, right? So we have Einstein embedded in all of our products. And Einstein is, but just as a side note, before I joined Salesforce, I was doing some research and I found, I don't know, Rajini, if you have gone to the website recently or for the past few years, it's got all these cartoon characters, right? And I'm like, what the heck is this company? Am I joining Disney? Or am I joining? But it is actually a very, very powerful concept. It allows people to relate to the technologies. It makes it a journey. You're going on a trail, you're traversing through the jungle, you have all these people you're meeting. We have Astro, that's one of the characters that's there as a part of our this thing. We have Cody the bear, etc. And likewise, we have Einstein, and Einstein is our genius. And this is the genius that's embedded in all of our products. So all of these products are now coming or have been coming with embedded AI. And with Gen AI coming in, we have introduced Gen AI in every single product that we have, right? And the way we work is everything is based on a common core. So if you have a solid core, you're developing products on top of it, all the products benefit. Now the question is how best to provide that particular feature to the customers. But there's a lot of very interesting things that are happening. Again, customer centricity. We are a company that takes pride in enabling other companies to become customer centric. So we have to think like almost one level up, that our customers need to be able to leverage this really well, and plus our customers need to be able to leverage it. So how would we use Gen AI? Well, there are lots of things that one can think of. One is, creating much more efficiency in doing various things, automating tasks. There's been a lot of talks about that. You take a particular task and you automatically create a workflow, right? So that's one of those things. Or if you're testing, you might want to actually review a particular email that's been constructed. So you automate that task, and out pops, whatever problems exist with that. You are trying to get together and put together a marketing campaign. So how do you structure it in a manner so that it's designed for the particular campaign you're doing, but it's done in a much more efficient manner? So rather than taking a week to construct all the materials for the marketing thing, it's a matter of like minutes, maybe an hour or so, and then you're up and running in there. Constructing an image that's actually very material to what you're trying to convey, but it's unique. It's been produced by AI, and then the particular text that goes along with this again is something that's there. One example of that, you'll find in our Commerce Cloud, if you're a company that's trying to go online with all your products, and these are products that are generally available in the industry. One of the big complex tasks of putting together something like that is you have to upload your inventory, and for each product, then you have to write information, this, that, whatever it is. But using Gen AI, you can generate that information. So rather than taking weeks or months to create your e-commerce site, you can create it like this. Makes a huge difference. Suppose I'm trying to create some kind of an email campaign. I'm trying to, Ranjani, send something to you. And, you know, we do get a lot of form letters, right? And but you can easily tell, hey, this is a form letter. But using AI, you are able to construct an email that's highly personalized to you, that not only does it know your name, it knows what you have done previously, what your interests are, and how something that we're talking about can impact you. That makes a much, much more powerful impact on you overall. And it's done in a much more efficient manner. So if you can save 3-4 hours a week of a particular person in marketing, that's a huge savings. Likewise, coding, right? We can generate code, we can review code, we're able to do some very, very interesting things, so that the whole process of creating code, be it a part of your CRM implementation, or it could be code that you're writing for whatever it is, all of that becomes quite efficient. Now, I mentioned all of these use cases. This is nothing new to you, Ranjani. You're an expert in this area already. But fundamentally, our approach is we want to do things that makes the customer's life better, so that overall, our approach towards customer success is something that is the major focus behind what we do. But one thing that a lot of people have been talking about, and we have a huge focus on, is all of this safe, right?
Mm,
We're saying, okay, let's use Gen AI, and there was a major company, I won't mention the name, whose engineers had actually submitted some code for review, etc., to some LLM, and there was a fear that, hey, now our code is part of this big LLM, so other companies can benefit as well. There
mm,
goes your security. So how do you deal with that? So what we have done is we have created a trust layer. Okay, a
mm,
trust layer has several things in there. One of the so if you just go kind of through the paces, one of the things is there's some there's a concept called grounding. What is grounding? Grounding is getting information about whatever it is you're trying to do from all the data sources you have. So now I'll just take a step back, if that's okay, Ranjani. So the foundation of AI is what? It's data, right? Data is what makes things go. So what's an LLM? It's a lot of data and a lot of training done to a model that you can access. So within your organization, there's a lot of data. We have what we call the data cloud. What does the data cloud do? It allows you to get data from all parts of your organization. And most organizations have like tens, if not hundreds, of applications that exist. So get all of that data by virtue of some kind of an integration entity. We have MuleSoft, the other products available. You put it together into your data layer. Now, this is your data that's allowing you to have a 360-degree view of your customer. Then when you want to do something like create a marketing campaign, you want to be able to extract information about the customer and create that, key information. Okay. And then we will come back to what actually happens with that. Well, actually, let me just talk about it now. Uh, what you do in LLMs is you take that information and then you query the LLM. Okay. That querying is called prompting. And there's a whole big field now called prompt engineering. But you're only as good as your prompt. So the whole concept of grounding is you get as much information as necessary so that you're able to create an amazing prompt that allows you to leverage the LLM to create something super interesting, right?
mm,
That's the fundamental idea behind this. And then of course comes the whole question, and this is a little bit diversion, but there comes the question that if you're generating such a complex prompt, aren't you taking so much time that might as well generate the whole email yourself?
mm,
But the thing is, we make the task of generating the prompt also automated. So that way, things are much more efficient. It's not like you're sitting down and writing 20 lines of prompt, etc. Okay. So you
mm,
put that together, and then there's PII that's in there, which you don't want to leak, right? Your name should not be in there, your salary, your address, whatever it is, should not be revealed to anybody. So there's a layer that goes through and does masking of all the data, right? And then from there, the LLM is queried. Now the issue is, how do we prevent what happened in that other case that I mentioned earlier? Well, there's a feature we leverage, and we are working with all of these LLMs to ensure it's there, called zero retention. So whatever information we provide in the prompt to the LLMs is not retained by the LLMs. So your data is yours. It does not get stored somewhere in the LLMs in some magical manner. And then the information comes back, things are generated. We detect things for, hallucinations or toxicity. Is it the right amount information? Is there some bias, etc.? And finally it comes back. So this is a long explanation of what we call the trust layer. And this trust layer is what's enabling companies to be able to leverage things like LLM, because without that, there's a great fear that all your data is somehow getting lost in this ether that has the LLMs. Right. So huge focus on that, but this is enabling lots and lots of companies to be able to leverage these latest technologies and leverage them through our tools in a manner that's contextual, so that you're doing a particular task which is meant for being for marketing, or it might be for some other thing, you're servicing a customer, but all of that stuff is leveraging Gen AI to provide a much richer experience. Okay, so that's the fundamental focus that we have with respect to AI and Gen AI.
Wow. Yeah, no, I was trying to unpack all of that, Sankeet. So thanks a lot. I think one thing that shines through your responses is the strong customer centricity, right? Where you're starting with problem first, tech second. And that's something I really love as well. I talk to a lot of startups, Sankeet, and sometimes I would say most times it's more like a hammer in search of a nail, where you have, oh, I want to build this, and then you go searching for the problem, right? But on all the use cases you called out, from like code generation to summarization, I think all of it starts with what is the problem you're solving for the customer. Absolutely great point there. The second thing is also that while there's so much of buzz around it, and there's folks who would constantly share, oh, what are the top 10 tools? And there is definitely a huge buzz. But I think the grounding you brought out, right, in terms of we are doing this, but we are doing this in a more secure, trustworthy manner, because that's very important as well, right? When you're talking about, especially in the enterprise context versus B2C. So I think trust and security of your data is so critical. So thanks for sharing that perspective as well. Um,
Absolutely.
I, I'm I'm going to go slightly to the other side, from like with respect to talent. We spoke about the technology, but going to your other T, right, the talent. Um, I'm thinking about it from two perspectives, right? One, as an individual, like your recommendation to people in tech, and for that matter, any professional, what would you recommend to them in order to stay relevant, right? So that's one. And two, also as a leader, how do you think about upskilling your workforce, which is also equally relevant, right? How do you make sure that your workforce is upskilled and growing, aligned to the changes which is happening externally in the environment? So, how do you think about talent in itself from these two lenses?
Um, the there's a famous saying that the only thing constant in the world is change, right? And one has to embrace that. It, I guess it gives comfort to a lot of people. I'm done with it, my education. I'm now working. No more learning. Let me just execute, right? But that's not how things work. We're learning all the time. We're human beings, whether it be a technology or it being how to operate the latest cell phone or some other gadget. We are learning all the time. And in this day and age where technology is progressing so darn fast, we have to keep on learning to keep up. Now, one of the things we have to be cognizant of, we don't need to be the expert in that tech. We just need to have a general idea as to what that technology is, so that within the context of what you're trying to do, you're able to understand and perhaps leverage that. Right. And that is very important, because it's intimidating, Ranjani. It's really intimidating. I've met a lot of people who are my age, perhaps older, and even younger individuals who are not very technology inclined, who are like, my goodness, what am I going to do? How the hell am I going to understand all of this stuff? And the fact is, it is not that complicated. You just need to understand the overall context. Like with Gen AI, people are looking at this at the end of the world in some cases, right? No, this is a tool that's allowing you to do certain things. Try to see how best it applies. So it's important to learn, and it's important to learn how and why a particular technology can come in handy with whatever it is you're doing. I personally, the first thing I do in the morning is scan through news and try to understand what's new. And if there's something new, perhaps I'll read an article or two. To me, that provides me tremendous information to be able to stay relevant. And then when something new like this comes along, then of course I spend a little bit more time trying to understand. And what really helps me is my foundation in solid computer science that lets me uh, in my head, in my mind map, position that technology. And just as an aside, when I was an undergrad, that's when AI education was starting to be introduced in colleges in the US. So I was part of an AI research project, and I have done some initial research with neural networks related to human genome project, etc. So all of those things were there. Uh, but all I use out of that is what are the fundamental things that are happening here. If I try to understand all the details today, it'll be too intimidating. I don't think I could do that. So that's one part. The other part is, your organization is going to have a big need to be able to upskill. Okay. For example, I mentioned prompt engineer, right? What the heck is a prompt engineer? If you didn't know that, you'd be like, oh gosh, now yet there's another thing. This person's going to come and take over my job or something. But just understanding what it is and being able to do this, it's a new way to query something. In the old days, there used to be SQL engineers who designed queries to be able to, query a database system. Now there's a prompt engineer. There's a new way to query these LLMs. That's about it. We just need to understand it a little better. Uh, but what is important as leaders is we need to encourage our employees to keep on learning, try to become better, and try to do things leveraging the latest of technologies. What we have in the company, we have a tool called Trailhead Academy. Trailhead Academy is a free online tool available to everybody within and outside the company, where you can learn about all kinds of technologies, especially, of course, Salesforce technologies, but a lot of other technologies as well, and including soft skills. So, and right now, if you take a look at my group, for example, everybody in my group is a ranger. Now, again, we get to this jungle theme, right? So you're a ranger, meaning you've, won certain badges, you've gone through some trails, which has allowed you to traverse your journey as a professional. And so by gamifying it, it makes it interesting for people. They learn a lot more, and then they're able to apply things, right? So, in my opinion, you asked a question about upskilling. Upskilling only becomes interesting when it's going to be relevant to what you're doing. So create situations where the need for upskilling is very much there, and then enable the upskilling by providing avenues where people can take online courses or perhaps do some other courses in some manner to be able to get to wherever position they would like to be at. One example is, if somebody wants to get into management, try to encourage them to take one of the, for example, IIM courses and do an EGMP and get an MBA, right? Something like that can be absolutely amazing. Now, after doing that, they might realize, man, I am really cut out for management. Or they might realize, I have all this education, but I think I'm better as an engineer. But at least you have given them an opportunity. So it's online, it's offline, but fundamentally create an environment of learning, and amazing things happen with your organization.
Yeah, no, a lot of things. And one thing which kind of struck me is your point around continuous learning, absolutely right, and how you've been doing this even as a leader. There's no excuse, absolutely, for folks to say I don't have time if someone as seasoned as you still makes time to kind of continue to learn, right? So I love the focus on learning that way. Um, Kind of talking about the other passion area you allude to often, Sanket, diversity and inclusive workplaces, right? Again, I'm thinking about how do we look at DNI as we look at leveraging talent from India, especially in the Gen AI space. This is a completely new space, as you rightly called out, where frameworks are still getting defined, markets are getting defined, products are getting defined. So, how would you think about DNI in the context of growth in the Gen AI space?
So here, Ranjani, I feel that the whole issue, the problem space that we're dealing with is similar, whether you're dealing with other technologies or Gen AI, right? In fact, Gen AI provides an even greater opportunity because it's new, right? And it's something that people are learning, and people who are fresh from college are the ones who are most likely to embrace it and start running with it very quickly. Almost everybody I know, especially the younger generation, they have ChatGPT on their phone, and they've been playing around with it to write poems or all kinds of stuff, right? So I think the problem of this is actually cuts across all kinds of technology segments. But fundamental to this concept is that, look, especially in a wonderful and richly diverse place like India, uh, diversity is a fact of life, right? It's inclusion that's the choice that we need to make each and every single day, right? And our goal should be that, we ensure that every individual can bring their whole self to work. Wherever you're working, every individual is able to bring their whole self to work and do the best work of their lives. And that's where the whole equality and equity discussion comes into play, right? In India, as far as the numbers are concerned, you might know this better than me perhaps in your research, but I think women representation in STEM education is actually stellar. We do really, really well. Now something happens afterward, that the number of women in the in various levels of the industry starts going down, and there's a lot of sociological reasons as well. We need to really work hard to overcome that. But the raw material is there, for lack of a better term, right? We have amazing talent that's being produced. Now we need to ensure that this talent is able to be brought into the workforce in a uh, let's say in a just manner. What often happens is there is a big rush to hire, right? There's a big rush to hire. The recruitment organization is trying their best to create a huge pipeline, and oftentimes the easiest path out is just to see, whatever you find online, boom, 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 and then your pipeline is built, and from there you hire. In the process, the whole diversity stuff gets left behind. So we need to ensure, every single person in management needs to ensure, to put pressure on talent acquisition organizations, that you would like to have a diverse organization. It takes patience, it takes reinforcement of that messaging with everybody so that you're able to do it. And honestly, it just makes economic sense. Time after time, research has shown that diverse organizations produce much, much better quality of work, and diverse management teams create companies that are doing amazingly well. So it just makes sense. It's the right thing to do from a business perspective. You just need to make sure that all the cogs in the wheel that go towards bringing people into the system are operating in the right manner. And likewise within, make sure that you have, diversity in all levels of your organization. Typically, as you go higher up, the diversity reduces. Try to see what the impediments of that are. But the other thing I'd like to raise is, oftentimes when we talk about diversity, it's a very, it's a unidimensional approach that we have. That diversity means gender diversity. But there are lots of other kinds of diversities, right? There's diversity of people with disabilities, there's diversity of people with different sexual or gender orientations, they're the underrepresented minorities. We need to look at all of these things. Some of them are more difficult to address than others, because they are private, kind of things that people would not want to share. But at least we should be cognizant of, the need for us to be approaching this in a manner that actually truly does create a diverse organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. I love the holistic view in terms of how you're looking at diversity. And yes, I agree with you, right? It tends to become a one single facet kind of view. And also how it's important for leaders to look at it beyond like a checkbox item, right? To say, okay, I will try harder to make sure that my pipeline is diverse and not just that I need to get this done and I to get it done as soon as possible. Um, Before I kind of let you go, Sanket, I just want to ask you one other area around innovation, right? I know you are extremely focused on, passionate about startups as well, and you're a champion for the Salesforce startup program. What do you see is the role of leaders as we look at startups, especially in this Gen AI world?
So, Ranjani, I've now been working with startups for quite some time, with startups in India. And a fact of the matter is, being a startup founder is a very lonely place, right? You've taken a big risk. You're trying to do things. There's so many people who are trying to point out 1,000 reasons why you will not be successful. So it takes huge willpower. And for that, I think what's important is providing an environment where people are able to at least have a much better chance at prosperity. Now, what you find is around every corner, there's an incubator program or an accelerator program or something or the other. All of those things are there everywhere. They're doing great work. What we have tried to do is leverage something that's very unique to Salesforce. We have the Salesforce ecosystem comprises something called trailblazers. And trailblazers are basically people who are associated with Salesforce in one manner or the other. Every employee is a trailblazer, of course, but as is everybody who uses Salesforce technologies. So you essentially become part of a community, and it's a huge community. There are more than 18 million people around the world who are trailblazers. And it is not, but before I joined, I used to think trailblazers are just like a user group, but it's not. Trailblazers is truly a community. And what's a concept in a community? There's a paid forward concept. You help each other. You need to find out information. People come forth and help you. They coach you. You're trying to find a job, they help you out. That's the basic concept behind this. Not just that, trailblazers in Salesforce actually host their own conferences, and huge conferences, and do it really well. I've attended so many of those within India. And honestly telling you, I was blown away. I didn't understand how people on a volunteer basis, through their passion, could do something like this. Now, similar to that, we wanted to do something for the startups, right? Because our concept is that once you join the program, you're not joining as a cohort for 6 months and you graduate and then we give you some gifts or whatever. When you join, you become part of the community. We help you in whatever way we can. Our goal is to help your prosperity. So we greatly scrutinize who it is that becomes a member. But once you're a member, you're part of the community. And our goal is to bring all of these folks together in a manner very similar to trailblazers. Of course, all of them become trailblazers so that they end up helping each other and paying things forward. For example, Salesforce has the most uh, cherished enterprise application store, and it's called App Exchange. So if you want to do anything on top of our products, you go to App Exchange and you find a product there and you're able to download it. And there's a whole program in how you create stuff. You get given a sandbox of technology that you use to create it, the whole platform thing I mentioned to you about. And then once you're up there, you have visibility around the world, which is something startups love. It's very similar to the Apple App Store. In fact, the Apple App Store, the name was given to Apple from Mark Benioff, just aside. So that is there. So we encourage startups who become part of our Salesforce startup program to develop applications on top of our platform and then make them part of the App Exchange. So this does so many things. In addition to that, when technologists come together to create a company, oftentimes they have the talent and they have the will, but they don't know what the heck to develop, right? So we have something called the Idea Exchange. Idea Exchange is a global database of all the technology holes that exist that have been reported around the world with our products. So you're a company, you're a startup, you go to Idea Exchange, you take a look at some things that look interesting, that match your areas of interest, you create a solution on that, you put it through the system of getting approvals, you put it on App Exchange, and you're out there, right? Now, this journey takes some time, but it's a big learning journey. Based on that, you can become a company that's hugely successful. Or you might have a company where you are trying to get people educated on Salesforce so that they can become consultants to this thing. So we have companies like that as well, consulting companies are. In fact, it's a huge ecosystem. All of these guys are more than welcome. What we encourage is, as a founder, if you have done something that's interesting, coach other people, teach them how to do the same thing, and amazing things will happen, right? So that's the overall goal behind what we're doing now with Gen AI. There's a huge wave happening and these guys are busy. They're learning about the new stuff coming up. Dreamforce is around the corner, it's next month, and all these products are being announced. You yourself named all the various products that we have that are going to be Gen AI enabled or already are. We'll be making huge announcements. All these trailblazers and all the members of the startup program are getting to understand what they are so they can leverage it and become part of the huge wave that is happening, right? So for me, that gives me great energy and a great excitement that yes, we are able to actually positively contribute to this ecosystem. um, and with that, I think I'm doing my duty to the ecosystem. And plus, more important than that, if I can even help a few startups with their
Mm.
prosperity, um, I'm super happy.
I love how much your passion shines through with respect to this topic, Sankeet. And I agree, absolutely right. I'm part of a bunch of communities for Gen AI, and there's no better way to learn than learning from each other that way. Lovely conversation. We spoke about a bunch of things from Salesforce's focus on Gen AI to your thoughts around empathetic leadership and how do you look at diversity and inclusion. Any concluding thoughts, Sankeet, before I let you go?
The only thing I'll say here, Ranjani, is for me, um, being in the industry is all about being mindful. Okay. And again, mindfulness is not meditation. Okay.
Mm,
Everybody thinks mindfulness is sitting down and just, listening to your breath or whatever it is. It's about actually noticing what's happening around you, understanding it, letting it sink in, and then proceeding with a clear mind. Now, a clear mind is not that you understand all technologies in great depth completely clearly. No, it's just that you have clarity of thought, and
mm,
you know what you know and you know what you don't know, and
mm,
with that you proceed. And this allows, and the reason I mention this is especially in this day and age where there's all these apocalyptic kind of things about, oh my goodness, Gen AI is going to cause this problem or that problem, etc. A lot of knee jerk reactions are happening. But if you take a look at the industry, and this is of course my humble view, I might be completely wrong, but every few years some technology comes up and all hype is created. Oh my goodness, doomsday predictions, this, that. And then after some time it becomes part of the general ecosystem. Some new jobs come up, other jobs perhaps go away, but there's an adjustment that happens to the system, and then we go on until something else comes. So this kind of sinusoidal pattern happens in the industry all the time. And when I talk about me being mindful, I just take a step back and look at it and say, hey, look, this is part of the scheme of things that happens. Let us try to just understand and see what best we can do. And my biggest focus is always, always, always people. And so let me see what I can do to help the people being able to adopt, being able to adapt, and do amazing things, within whatever it is that's happening in the ecosystem right now. So that's my advice to folks: is that you know don't have knee-jerk reaction, don't get worried, just embrace, and good things will happen.
Thank you, Sankeet. Such a brilliant advice to close out. You come across as a really calm, composed, and mindful leader, and that's a great thought to close out the session. Thank you, everyone. Until you meet you again in another episode of Generative AI and I.